So I was going through my bookmarks where I had several YouTube videos that I wanted to have commented on. However, a lot of them have been removed because they are of a political nature. First one is no longer uploaded, is taken down, is Fred Leuchter, All About Gas Chambers. It's a reference to the Fred Leuchter report, which there are still like PDFs and written documentation of. And I might read some of that and post it to this channel. But I highly recommend reading about the Fred Leuchter report on the gas chambers in Auschwitz. Basically, this guy is an expert in gas chamber executions used for capital punishment in prison systems. And so he goes to Germany to investigate the places where supposedly there were gas chambers and supposedly there were mass ovenings of Jews. And he examines, well, would these facilities have been able to have killed as many people as who were supposedly killed? And just with overwhelming flaws in absolutely everything. Oh yeah, screen doors are not going to be able to have a gas chamber supplied within them. Doors that aren't sealed properly, there were problems with the lighting that would have caused explosions for the volatile gas that was supposedly used. There weren't the facilities or the logistical resources of fuel to be able to incinerate so many bodies so quickly without leaving any evidence behind. It was just absolutely damning. And the written reports still are absolutely damning, but nobody reads. So that's the whole point of doing audio. So it's still accessible to people in some way or another. Another video that it's still up, but I would highly recommend to look at it. It's been memory holed, the issue of massive voter fraud in the American election, where this is from Project Veritas Action. They have a YouTube channel of the same name, Project Veritas Action, and I highly recommend that you check them out. They are very against the grain for the mainstream Lügenpresse, and their discussion on rigging the election, to the video 2, Mass Voter Fraud is the title, has almost 4 million views currently. So that's actually very heartening. That looks like people are getting woke. And it was something where in person, around the time of the election, I wasn't able to talk to anyone about the huge potential for massive voter fraud. When I was talking with people before the election, of course, everyone's talking about, oh, who do you think's going to win, Hillary or Trump? And all the mainstream media is, well, people who watch the mainstream media don't call it the mainstream media. They just call it the news, because they don't understand how much of fake bullshit it is. They just buy it hook, line, and sinker. You know, the kind of normie, well, unfortunately, I'm surrounded by the kinds of normies who think that CNN is real news, and that MSNBC and ABC are reliable news sources, and that Tucker Carlson is just they don't know who Tucker Carlson is because they don't watch his stuff. But if they ever saw a snippet of his, they would just turn it off and go, oh, he's so full of hate or something bullshit like that. So there's no actual communication that's going to be going on with these people. But before the election, in the days up to it, because it was just inescapable to be around these conversations, and because everyone has to air their opinion, and fucking liberals are so arrogant about it, just saying, oh, Trump is so full of hate and all blah, blah, blah. They just get so up on an emotional high horse about everything. And I was like, well, I took a kind of a reserved approach of, well, I'm really concerned about the integrity of the election because of undocumented immigrants being able to vote potentially, and also voter fraud with being able to bus people around from one city to another, which is being facilitated by NGOs and nonprofits, by George Soros. But normies don't understand who George Soros is. Or if they hear that name and they kind of understand like Alex Jones tier stuff, then they say, oh, that's just a conspiracy. You're crazy. So this video, Rigging the Election, video 2, Mass Voter Fraud by Project Veritas Action, actually goes into how it's very real threat that the election was rigged against Trump and he still won. That's basically what's going on here, where the establishment did everything in its power to try and pull the wool over people's eyes, and with massive disinformation for one thing. And then they turn right around and accuse the Russians of colluding with Trump to put all this oy vey information out about all this fake news to try and support Trump. No, massively. There's propaganda demonizing Trump and saying that Hillary was the next Jesus. But aside from the propaganda bullshit going on out there and the mudslinging and the false projections of saying, oh, Hillary's going to win in a landslide, so if you want to be on the winning team, vote for Hillary. That kind of bullshit, get the lemmings in row mindset. There's actually, in the technical way that votes are counted in the Electoral College with unbound delegates, everything that was in the establishment's power, they used to try and get Hillary elected. And they still failed, which I wouldn't say that shows that we can have absolute 100% trust that the system will prevail, but at the very least, it's bought us some time. Again, here's the warning that our time is running out because we can't just sit by and watch ourselves decline until there's none of us left. And we are very closely approaching the point of no return for saving Western society and everything that we understand to be civilization. And that's not an exaggeration. I'm not trying to be dramatic about this. It's if white people go extinct, then everything that white society is will cease to be. And we are headed down a path where whites are on the decline. White society is on the decline, and the Lügenpresse is very much pushing this as well as celebrating it. It's almost like the people running the media don't identify as white themselves. So check out some of the woke stuff on Project Veritas. And the next bookmark is good old Stefan moleyneux. He has a lot of good stuff when it comes to race realism on IQ, for example. On debates to a degree, like, he understands how argumentation should work ideally. I don't think his philosophy that if you just rationally explain things to people, then people will vote rationally or people will behave in a rational manner. I don't think he properly understands the emotionality of the people out there. And I don't think he's come to terms with the fact that you can't rationally move violent people into a peaceful mindset. But he does have some pretty woke information, even if he doesn't have the gumption to really direct it in as impactful of a way as he could. He is more appealing to a normie audience, but he's not going all the way with drawing things to their logical conclusion. He's got some compartmentalization going on. Maybe that's part of him just being of an older generation, of buying into a different kind of propaganda where there are certain sacred cows that he won't touch. He does cuck out to the Jews and say, well, Jews are so successful because they have such a high IQ. Doesn't recognize the importance of nepotism and the importance of in-group preference and out-group sabotage that is characteristic of Jews. But probably the most impactful video and the most useful that I've run into of Stefan moleyneux's videos is The Truth About Sex. Facts you won't believe are true. It's kind of a clickbaity title, but he actually does his research really well. He has pretty good graphics, a really good presentation, and he talks about the importance of monogamy, basically. That's pretty much one of the main points of this, is if women have a bunch of sex partners, if women have just a few sex partners, then they're more likely to get a divorce, to not have fidelity to their husband, to be disloyal. And it's dose dependent, so the more sexual partners a woman has, the more sexual experience she's had, the more likely she is to get a divorce. So he doesn't draw things to their logical conclusion. So why is the media pushing this? The media can't be ignorant of this, but why is there no discussion about how the media is pushing women to be sexually liberated, but as women have more sexual partners, divorce rates go up? Everyone understands, hey, divorce is bad, yo. We want to keep families together so that kids are raised properly and so that the adults in the matter aren't miserable. But you know what makes women miserable? Not being married to the first man they have sex with. Because, so virgins have a powerful emotional, biological connection. It's an emotional connection, but it's biologically based. They have a powerful connection to the man they lose their virginity to.